You ever find yourself maybe in a quiet moment asking one of those questions that just kind of stops you in your tracks? It seems so simple, but it's one of the biggest mysteries out there.
Why are you, you? Why aren't you someone else? I know, it sounds like a question a kid would ask, right? But believe me, this question hides a deep, deep puzzle about who we are and what reality even is.
So this question, which pretty much everyone has thought about at some point, it's actually a huge paradox. It's a real conflict in how we think about ourselves.
Okay, so here's the conflict, right? On one hand, being you feels like a necessary truth. I mean, of course you're you. Who else could you be? It's just a basic fact. But then, on the other hand, it feels totally random, doesn't it? Like it's a complete accident. You can so easily imagine being born as your neighbor or as someone who lived 1,000 years ago. It feels like you just won some kind of cosmic lottery.
So how can something feel so completely random, yet at the same time be logically impossible to escape? Well, trying to untangle that is what this is all about. To even get started, before we can ask why we are who we are, we have to figure out something a little more basic. What even is a me? We've got to take a look at the first-person perspective. So, what is it? Well, you can think of it as that unique, totally private viewpoint that you experience the world from. It's not just your body or your name, it's the simple fact that you are this person living this life from the inside looking out.
And this perspective has some really interesting properties. First, it's completely private. Nobody can ever get inside your head and see the world exactly the way you do. It's also made up of your own special mix of thoughts and feelings. And maybe most important of all, it has what some philosophers call immunity to error. What that means is you might be wrong about what you're seeing, but you can never, ever be mistaken about who is doing the seeing. You always know it's you.
So, with that in mind, our big question kind of changes. It's not just, why am I me anymore? It's something more specific. Why do I have this particular first-person perspective out of the billions and billions of others that exist?
To tackle that, let's try a little thought experiment. Let's try to imagine the universe, but without you at the center of it. Let's try and get a view from nowhere.
So picture a supercomputer that has a complete objective blueprint of the entire world. It knows where every single atom is, it knows the history of every single person, it knows the content of every single thought. It's a perfect third-person description of all of reality.
But as the philosopher Thomas Nagel famously argued, there's one massive fact that is completely missing from this perfect description. That computer can tell you everything about the person with your name and your history, but it can't tell you that you are that person. The simple subjective fact that one of those people in that sea of data is you is just gone.
And that really gets to the heart of it, doesn't it? From the outside, the world is just this massive collection of facts with no real center. But from the inside, from your perspective, the universe has a very clear center, you. There's this huge gap between the objective map of the world and your subjective location on it.
All right, hold on, because this is where things get really, really weird. To push this idea to its absolute limit, let's walk through a pretty wild thought experiment, the Great Identity Swap.
Okay, so follow me here. Step 1. Just picture our world with its billions of unique first-person perspectives. Now step 2. Imagine a hypothetical world where every single one of those perspectives gets randomly shuffled. Your I gets swapped into someone else's life, and theirs gets swapped into another, and so on. Now here's the kicker. Step 3. From the outside, objectively, this new world would look completely identical to ours. The same people would be doing the same things. But here's the truly wild part. Step 4. From the inside, subjectively, nobody would ever know that a swap had even happened. The consciousness that landed in your body would suddenly have all your memories and thoughts, and it would just assume it had always been you.
And that leads to a pretty startling question. If we could swap your perspective with anyone else's, and it would make absolutely zero difference to the world, not objectively, not subjectively, then what does it even mean to be you? Does your specific identity have any real meaning at all?
I know, that feels like we've just broken reality, but stick with me. This isn't a dead end. It's actually pointing us straight to the solution. The whole paradox comes from this powerful, unshakable sense of me we all have, a sense that might be built on an illusion.
So the idea is that feeling that you could have been someone else comes from the way our minds instinctively work. We feel like there's a separate subject, the watcher, and that watcher is observing the object, which is all the stuff in your life.
Here's how that happens in your head. As you're looking out at the world, you're also aware that it's you doing the looking. And in that moment of self-awareness, you kind of turn yourself into an object of your own attention. This creates this powerful illusion that the subject you, the pure watcher, and the object you, the person with your name and your history, are two different things that could have been mixed and matched.
But here's the big twist. What if that separation is the illusion? The argument is that you are not a subject in a point of view, like a driver sitting in a car. You are the point of view. The watcher and the thing being watched are actually one and the same.
The author, Tim Klassen, puts it this way, and it's just brilliant. The only way in which I could experience another one's point of view is to become the other one. But think about it. If you became them, it wouldn't be you experiencing their life anymore. It would just be them. The whole idea of swapping perspectives doesn't actually make sense.
And that brings us all the way back around to the answer. That powerful feeling we started with, the one that says your existence is just an accident, it was a trick of perspective. As long as this person, the one with your body, your brain, your memories, exists, then you are necessarily there. It's not an accident. It couldn't possibly be any other way.
Which leaves us with one final fascinating question to think about. We started by asking, why am I me? And what we've discovered is, that's the wrong question. You couldn't be anyone else. So the real question becomes, if you could not possibly be anyone else, who are you necessarily?